to 3 million unemployed and all that snow on the ground. They could have caught the friggin' stuff before it reached the ground. And the bingo queue was right round the corner, and a funeral cortege comes past. And an old woman got out of the queue with a bouquet of flowers and a new pair of snowshoes. She put the bouquet of flowers in the coffin. She walked back to her place in the bingo queue. And everybody said to her that was a lovely thing to do. And she said, well, he was a lovely husband to me. Unfortunately, when Jack and Jill went up the hill, the Serbs were there. And as one Bosnian Muslim said to another Bosnian Muslim, you wait ages for a NATO bomber. And then thousands come past. And why did the Mexican throw his wife off the cliff? Tequila. And the reason why the British government don't want the British forces to go to Bosnia as part of the UN is because the Americans are doing the air cover. Colonel Gaddafi has told his people to stop smoking embassies. And what do you call a woman with one leg? Eileen. This Irish fellow went to a restaurant, he paid for a meal, they brought the meal, and when nobody was looking, he sneaked out without eating it. Two cannibals, father and son, were out hunting. And they seen this lovely girl in the clearing. And the son said to the father, let's take her home and eat her. And the father said, no, let's take her home and eat your mother. Two men in the North Atlantic on an iceberg. One said to the other, Jesus, we're saved. Here comes the Titanic. This fella called Seamus got a job in the North Sea as a deep sea diver. One day the captain of the ship rang him down and said, Seamus, you better come up. We're sinking. Is this too clever for you? Remember this, English people. It is 99% of the Irish people get that 1% a bad name. And whenever you find a solution to the Irish question, don't worry, we'll change the fucking question. A skinhead, 18 years of age, came home one night and he said to his father, I've just had my first sexual experience. And the father was so proud and he said to the lad, sit down and tell me about it, son. And the lad said, I can't. My backside's killing me. This tart with a Mac coat came on a building site in London, and the tart flashed at the Irish lads. Take a look at that, Mick. Take a look at that pot. Mick pot, Mick pot, Mick pot. Mick said to Pot, did you look at the tart? Pot said, I haven't brought my lunchbox. Mick said, the tart's the woman flashing her wares. That's the tart, Pot. Go and show her your nuts. And Pot went, dee 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 dee. And what's coloured blue and sleeps too? A gas-board van. Can you imagine working for the gas board in Baghdad? It must be mustard. Join the British Air Force and see the world. Join the Iraqi Air Force and see the next world. And what has 6 legs and says it won't bite? A dickhead with an American pit bull terrier. And the difference between a Rottweiler and a poodle pissing up your leg, you let the Rottweiler finish. But not all big dogs are bad dogs. The original Dulux dog died last year. It was 18 years of age. There was a lovely funeral, but by Jesus, what a finish. And what do you call a spider with no legs? A current. And you know the difference between roast beef and pea soup? Anybody can roast beef. And why is an owl more intelligent than a chicken? Have you ever heard of a Kentucky fried owl? And how do you make Barry Manilow's nose 12 inches long? You fold it in half. And how do you get a camel through the eye of a needle? Use a blender. This little girl said to her mother, what happens to cars that are old and rusty and broken down? And the mother said, somebody sells them to your father. And this lass was in London town centre on a Saturday night. She had a black eye, a broken nose, and 2 teeth missing. She was distraught. Just couldn't that be the price of beer in Springfellows? Or Stringfellows? Chance in 1,000, no, chance in 2,000. A thing rarely seen in London, on his own, a policeman. The last time I was in London town centre, or city centre, a light flashed. A voice said, this is the police. I said, I can't see anything. What are you doing here? Why are you in London town centre at this time of night? I told him who I was, my name, everything about me. And then the helicopter flew away. This lass had a black eye, a broken nose, and 2 teeth missing. And this young police officer said to her, what's wrong with you? And she said, it's my husband. He beats me every day. He drinks. He goes with other women, and, sorry, officer. I've lost 2 stone weight, 2 stone. And the young police officer said, well, why don't you leave him? And she said, I want to lose 3 stone. Wash and go. Was Robinson Crusoe the first man to get all his work done by Friday? But besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, what did you think of the play? Can acupuncture cure pins and needles? If at first you don't succeed, so much for skydiving. If ballet dancers have to dance on their toes, why don't they just employ taller dancers? When the Berlin Wall came down, I was watching television. I couldn't believe it. I said to myself, beagles about. My brother was mad when the Berlin Wall came down. His building firm were going to point it. And my Uncle Rory, his budgie died, and he advertised it in the local paper. It said, dead budgie for sale, not going cheap. And my cousin Sean shaved all his hair and went to Sellafield to look for work. And my sister's married to a miner in a place called Grimethorpe near Barnsley. And during the miners' strike, she went back to Belfast to get away from the trouble. And never was so much given by so many to so few. Who said that? Come on, who said that? Besides me. Winston Churchill Jr., when he got the money from the lottery for his grandfather's letters. Or thousands of old age pensioners who were involved in the Maxwell fucking pension scheme. If you want to make some really big money, would you take this case of sweets to Singapore? I hope there's no police officers here because I'm going to show you something that fell off the back of a lorry. Am I going too fast? On VE Day, Victory in Europe, I worked in North Wales for the Welsh Guards. It was a wonderful day. The Welsh Guards were there in parade in the club. They invited the enemy to the services. They invited the enemy to the celebration. Not one Zulu turned up. I know it's a long way from Africa, but they could have come. This is weird, isn't it? A weird type of comedy, this, isn't it? On VJ Day, Prince Charles stood on the podium on the Mall in London with a row of medals on his chest as the Burma Star Lads march past. Hey! 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 A row of medals on his chest. His son said to him, Dad, what do you get the medals for? Charlie said, for fighting with your mother. And the Japanese, they never said sorry. The Japanese, they never said sorry. South Japan, 25 weeks ago, 5:25 a.m. in the morning, number 8 on the Richter scale. The Silence of the Lambs. Or the Pope having a crap. Brick, Irishman, brick. This reminds me when there was work here. This brick's got 3 holes, and I've only got 2, and most of the time I'm talking about my arse. Brick, Irishman, brick. In the third world, this brick is a washing machine. In and around the inner cities, this brick is a fucking deposit for a television. I think somewhere down the line here, I'm losing you. I do apologize for that. Very, very sorry. When my father died, the undertaker knocked at the door and said, is this where the dead man lives? We were gathered around the graveside, my brothers and sisters and a young priest. And the young priest said to me, Mother, your husband Barney died quickly. What were his last words? And my mother said, Barney's last words were, put down that gun. And the priest gave such a lovely eulogy on my father. My mother said to me, Pat, jump into the grave, open the coffin, see who the hell's in there. And my brother can't walk, he can't even stand up, he has to crawl. He was crawling when he was 1, and he was crawling when he was 5, and he was crawling when he was 10, and he was crawling when he was 15, and he was crawling when he was 20. He's now a foreman. And my mother always said, Pat, it doesn't matter if you're wet and cold as long as you're warm and dry. And if you want to be fit, son, you must think fit. So every morning I go running thinking fit. Every evening I come back, I was knackered, but I was thinking fit. I'm fit, I'm very fit, I'm fit. One morning I collapsed and I woke up in the hospital and I said to the doctor, what happened? And he said, you had a fit. When Fanny Craddock died, it was stated in her will she was to be cremated, gas mark 4. Joseph, Mary, and the little donkey. Can I move this far here? Joseph, Mary, and the little donkey followed the star to Bethlehem. They arrived at the inn door, knocked at the inn door, and the innkeeper came down in his nightgown. The innkeeper came down in his nightgown. I closed my eyes, I threw back at the curtains, to see the horse. And the innkeeper said to Joseph, what do you want, Joe? Because Joe was a well-known local joiner and donkey gyrator. And Joseph said to the innkeeper, is there any room at the inn? If you have nobody in, can me and the wife come in and we'll leave the donkey in the stable. Is there any room in your inn? And the innkeeper said, I'm sorry, Joe, there's no room at the inn. We're full up, packed to the rafters. It's Christmas. And Joseph said, but my wife is pregnant. And the innkeeper said, well, that's not my fault, Joseph. And poor Joe went back to his donkey and Mary. Sat on his donkey. And thought to himself, and it isn't my fault either. Are you tired? And during the time that the Romans were the Holy Land, the Romans were also in Britain. And they'd taken from Britain Irish slaves to do the roads around Calvary. And these Irish lads had done such a lovely job on the old A1. It was now a dual chariot way. That the Romans gave them the job of doing a ring road around the Calvary Hill because of the many, many crucifixions on the deaths. Suddenly, this scene developing in front of them. A man carrying a cross, a crown of thorns on his head, but they couldn't help him. The Romans, the Pharisees, and the Jews spitting at him, kicking him. But they wanted to help him. These Irish lads wanted to help, but they couldn't because they were slaves. The scene had been hoisted on the cross. And they heard him saying, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." So the Irish lads went back to the hut to look at the plans. But soon realized our Lord was not speaking about them. They went back to work. It was Good Friday, they were on time and a half. Sorry, Christian, it's only a joke, I don't want to cuss against anybody. Suddenly, the sky got lowered, the thunder came, the lightning came, Yorkshire water came, took away the standby pipes. Everybody pitched off home except a few of the Irish lads still working there and our Lord's friends who were underneath the cross. And these Irish lads were so impressed by our Lord's forgiveness that they wanted to say what a great man he was. To check if the Romans had gone. Sorry. And the Irish foreman got close to the cross, checked to see the Romans were gone, and whispered in Jesus' ear, "Have you a message for the Irish people?" And our Lord turned his head, looked at the Irish lad and said, "Just act daft until I get back." And that's why I am standing on a table in Camden Lough. Thank you very much indeed. Sorry, ladies. I was married for 25 years. And I came home one night and I knew there was in trouble. I said to the wife, "I'm going to make you the happiest woman in the world." And she said, "We'll miss you." So at my age and my condition, where the hell am I going to get a girlfriend? So I went to Stringfellows. It was over 80s, no, over 40s night or something. I don't know what night it was. I got in anyway. And I met this lovely girl, cracking looking lass. And I said to her, "Do you fancy a glass of champagne?" I kissed and I cuddled. Come back to my place if you want it. She said, "I'm afraid my awareness of your proclivities in esoteric aspects of sexual behavior preclude such an erotic confrontation." I said, "I don't get it." She said, "Correct, piss off." Gotta go. Gotta go, and thank you very much indeed. Good night and God bless you all. Thank you for the sort of the audience.